Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I also want to thank Liz Faust for curating this show. She was the first person I worked with when we were putting together the first iteration of the show in 2019 as well. And I also want to thank Goucher College and the Goucher College Art Galleries. So today we'll be talking about the work that's in the Bond Window Gallery outside, Clean All the Stolpersteine. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of background for where the idea came from and some history about monuments and ideas around performance art and ritual. So these are all photos from the Library of Congress, and they're different monuments or memorials in Washington, D.C. The first is the Titanic Memorial. The second that you're looking at is a memorial of Ulysses S. Grant, or a monument supporting him, and someone who's up there cleaning him. And then the Lincoln Memorial. In general, I feel like most of our monuments and memorials in the United States, not just here, but elsewhere as well, tend to be very large and grand and larger than life, and you're supposed to look at them from afar and usually not touch them, definitely not walk on them or get very close to them. Let's see, delay. Okay. This is the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. as well. Another very grand, large sculpture, installation, fountain feature. And I also feel like, for the most part, a lot of our memorials tend to live in one specific place, and you go on a pilgrimage of sorts to go visit them, to spend specific time there, even if the events, the war, or the person maybe didn't even live in that space. And then we move forward to Stolpersteine. So the Stolpersteine are individual cobblestone memorials that were created by a German artist whose name is Gunter Demnig. And there was a wave of memorial projects in the mid to late 90s, and then moving on into the early millennium after the wall came down. And a lot of artists had support and more space to be able to really work on memorial projects. The first one he ever installed was in 1992 in Cologne. And as of 2023, there are over 100,000 that are installed all over Europe. In general, each single stone represents a person who was taken during the Holocaust, and the stones are placed in the ground, in the actual cement or pavement outside of their home or workplace, the last place they were before they were arrested. Each stone is also in the native language of the person. So while the project started in Germany and was started by a German artist, Stolpersteine in Italy are in Italian, Stolpersteine in Greece are in Greek, Stolpersteine in Poland are in Polish, and each stone has the name of the person, when they were born, the date that they were arrested, where they were sent, and the date they died, if they died, or if they escaped or lived. Oh, no. Oh, now it's extra jumpy. Okay, there we go. So the first time I had ever seen them was actually in 2006 when I was in Italy on a trip with my family. And we were just walking down the street, and then I saw something shining in the ground, and stopped and looked and kind of felt shocked in step, and pulled my mom aside, actually, who's here today. And we just read them and couldn't believe it, and kind of had to put together what the project was and what was going on. And I started noticing them all over the city after that. And at the time, I was 16, so I thought that it was a project that was supported by the Italian government. I didn't realize that an individual artist had started this memorial project and had continued and is still working on it today. And I remember just feeling that they had this very special intimacy to them, and the idea that you're moving through the city and thinking of it as living space with living history, and not necessarily something that only existed like going to Washington, D.C. to think about it, or going to a specific site to think about it, that you're thinking about the living history of the entire city, or this specific moment and this specific person now, like here. Later, in graduate school, I learned about a performance artist and video artist named Linda M. Montano, who used to be a Catholic nun, and then she left and started making video art, performance art, and a lot of work that had to do with ritual and life. And she did a long, what we would call in the art world or performance art, endurance art piece, where she and another artist were tied together at the hip for an entire year. And the whole idea for them was looking at how we actually are, humans actually are deeply connected, and that there's really no such thing as individualism, and we're so like tied to the hip as society and culture. And they really did this project from 1983 to 1984, where they lived together, worked together, had to exist in space together, tied to the hip for a whole year. And they also did a lot of political work around this time. And I think I was really inspired by these. This is a long gesture, but in a way it's sort of simple. It's a simple idea that's trying to have a longer impact and a more endurance performance art quality to it. And since she came from this background of Catholicism, she talks a lot in her work about feeling like women weren't allowed to be ritual makers in the Catholic Church. And so she has this quote of, "I took that aesthetic ritual making paradigm and placed it in art." In addition, my parents were very involved in a lot of Catholic social justice leftist movements, and the Catonsville Nine, who were a group of 9 Catholic folks, many who were priests or nuns, but also lay people who believed in nonviolent resistance and social justice work, and I would argue also a bit of political performance art. During the Vietnam War, went into a Catonsville draft board, took all of the draft records, took them outside, poured homemade napalm on top of them, and then lit them on fire, prayed, and waited to be arrested as a form of nonviolent resistance in protest, was something that definitely came to mind when thinking about performance art and ritual, and trying to make some type of awareness in a way that still had like nonviolent action. That's Dan Berrigan, and that's me when I'm about 3 or 4 years old, with the traditional 1990s bowl haircut that we all had. Like I said, there was definitely a lot of influence of ritual and nonviolent resistance when the ideas for this work came about. So later in life, I was in graduate school, I was in Rome again, and I was seeing the Stolpersteine, and I was walking through a particular district in Rome in the Jewish quarter, where there happened to be many of them. And I realized that while I was reading them, I was there on the anniversary date that people were taken. So I was there in October 20th in 2017, and the folks whose names were in the Stolpersteine were taken on October 20th, 1943. And I just felt like I had to do something or make something or do some type of ritual or acknowledge in some way, and I wound up cleaning them with my hands, and then left and went to a store and came back and actually cleaned them again, and then people were stopping and asking me what I was doing, and I was pointing to them, and we wound up having conversations in like broken Italian and English together. And so that all of those things combined brought up the idea for the Clean All the Stolpersteine piece. And I remember telling a friend that I just feel like we should be cleaning these forever, like it's something that we should continue to do. And so then the Clean All the Stolpersteine idea, endurance, performance art, nonviolent action came to be in that moment. The following summer, still in graduate school, Towson University was leading a really special summer small exchange study abroad program called Arts as Sanctuary, where artists and art teachers who were all graduate students went together to Berlin to see how arts programming was being used to help integrate the over 1 million refugees that Germany took in during the Arab Spring. So I obviously wanted to go because a lot of my work is rooted in art as social justice and the connection between art and policy, and how we use art practices and art teaching to try to kind of help make more radical policy possible. And I knew during that time that that's when I wanted to do the first cleaning of the Stolpersteine. And so I asked some friends who I met on the group together if they would mind helping with the project, if they would photograph me. And so this is a photo from the first time of cleaning Stolpersteine in Berlin. And I bought washcloths from a place in Germany, and then that became another layer of the project, that I was always buy washcloths that were in the town wherever I was, to try to have some kind of connection, like physical connection to the work and to the cities or towns where they were. And as we were cleaning them, or as I was cleaning them and my two friends were with me, we went really early in the morning, and we didn't think anyone was watching us or looking at anything specifically. But it turned out that someone, a woman who lives in that apartment building, was actually watching from the balcony above. And luckily, one of my friends who was with us spoke fluent German. So as we were leaving, she asked what we were doing, and my friend Laura explained about the project and the cleaning and the idea behind it and the ritual of remembering. And she just said thank you for doing it, because you never know necessarily how people are going to react. Let's see. So then the first iteration of the show was in 2019, curated by Liz Faust at Full Circle studio downtown in Baltimore. And all of the washcloths, the dirty washcloths, were framed and hung on the wall, and then placed in relationship to the videos of the cleaning of the Stolpersteine. And at the time, I had cleaned them in Berlin and Rome. I'm also just going to read just a short little piece about another part of the work. So the series of cleaning all of the Stolpersteine is meant to focus on the role of public space, public memory, and rituals of mourning. As an American with European ancestry, including German, Polish, and Italian, I aim to act in cleaning the Stolpersteine to honor the individuals who were lost during the Holocaust, to honor and collaborate with the artist Gunter Demnig, and to draw attention to political cycles seen before that are occurring again. I hope to raise awareness of the role the United States played in turning away immigrants and asylum seekers at the beginning of what would become World War II, as well as carrying out the internment of Japanese immigrants and citizens, or United States citizens of Japanese descent during World War II. Since we also barely, when I feel like we talk about World War II, America is seen as like the hero who only helped in saving, and not as a complicated government who also did a lot of terrible things, and who interned Japanese immigrants and United States citizens of Japanese descent, and the internment camps are often not talked about in our dialogue. So then, after that first show, I was in Thessaloniki, Greece, or Salonika, as some people call it, which for the longest time, Thessaloniki, Greece, was one of the cities where all three Abrahamic religions lived in peace until World War II. So the Stolpersteine that are installed here in the city are outside of a boys' school on the left, and then at the harbor port, the main port of Thessaloniki, so where people were working. Later, I cleaned them in Bologna, and as you can see, someone had the best of intentions with lighting tea candles in remembrance, and unfortunately the wax actually did like cover an entire Stolpersteine. So when cleaning those, there's a little bit of a video here. Luckily my friend who came to help me during this one, she actually had a pallet scalpel, so I used that to actually try and get all of the wax off, in addition to cleaning them. And I will say that in Greece, I wound up making friends with the tour guide who I went on the walking tour with, and telling him about the project and what I was looking for, and how I was actually a little confused on the map. And he said, "Oh, meet me later, I'll take you." So he drove me all around the city. There we go. So thankfully, Stephanie had that at her house. So the whole video piece is scraping all of the wax off, cleaning the grooves out, and then cleaning every single stone that's there. So in order to install the stones, there usually, unfortunately, tends to be some form of bureaucratic process that has to go through, if it's public space or private space, and sometimes a whole town needs to agree, and there have been some controversial issues with that depending on the town where they are. But in Bologna, a lot of them were only recently installed within the past few years, and unfortunately I missed Gunter Demnig installing them in Bologna by a day. And I was so upset, but I just feel like it'll happen eventually. We'll meet somehow. And then moving forward, here's some of the other, a close-up of some of the photos of the Stolpersteine in Bologna. So in Poland, I was, as Liz said, I was there on a Fulbright last academic year, and I was starting to look them up, and while I was actually working on some other film projects while I was there, I knew I had to clean Stolpersteine while I was in Poland. And it just so happened, and this is why I feel like I can never fully delete Twitter, because you still find some things that you would never find otherwise. The only thing I was able to find about Stolpersteine in Warsaw, specifically, while they have been installed in some other cities, was the first ones that were going to be installed were in July of the year that I was there, and they're of three sisters. And through digging through the internet is how I even found out about this. And so I was able to go, as this person says, Carolina, who turns out she's a professor who studies something else, but she knew about the Stolpersteine, and she somehow found out about it and then posted on Twitter about it and just said the first ones in Warsaw will be installed on July 23rd. And she posted that on July 18th, 2023, and that was right before we were going to get there to start the grant. So I missed the installation, but at least I knew that they would be there. And then she says details in Polish in the comments. So here they are. And this past winter is when I was able to clean them, and that is included, and that most recent washcloth framed is included in this series of the installation of them. And you can always sponsor one if you happen to be living in Europe, or if you have family there, or you know or have connections, and you do research and you find out people living in your building deserve Stolpersteine, you can always contact them. And this is the website that's, of course, run by the artist, but then all of his folks who help. And you can sponsor a stone and go with them to install it, or they'll install for you. And the project is still going on to this day, as we know, since they installed the Warsaw ones in July. And he has another project as well in South America for folks of the disappeared. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, no. Oh, it just died. Oh, it's back. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Yes.
How many have you cleaned so far?
Ooh. See, that's a good question. Do you count by individual or do you count by group? Individual is probably up to 80.
What do you use to clean?
Usually it's just water that I spend some time kind of thinking about or meditating or blessing, and then elbow grease. A lot of scrubbing goes in. Yes.
I wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. I don't believe this is very well known in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2022, I was very fortunate to install a Stolpersteine for my great aunt in Magdeburg, Germany. She was not part of the Holocaust. She was part of Action T4, which was the people with disabilities that they killed and practiced their killing methods on to perfect them to go on and kill in the Holocaust. And it's funny, you were talking about the woman that was watching the clean. I met a man that lived in the apartment building where my great aunt had lived, and he sends me pictures now and then, like when there's snow on it or when the leaves are falling and that kind of thing, and he keeps it clean for me. We talk via email.
Wow, that's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Oh no, thank you. I will say for the most part, most people are usually supportive, and sometimes people will come and talk to me or we'll clean one together for a little bit. There's usually a lot of staring, I will say, like, especially if let's see if this will work for going back. Hold on. For the, oh, come on. No, it seems to be frozen. Keep going. For the one outside the boys' school in Greece, there were a lot of people who actually pulled over in their cars. I don't know if you can see, there's the streets like right there. And the tour guide, who became a dear friend, was saying, because I wasn't focused on anybody else, I was just kind of in the moment cleaning all of them. And he said that people pulled over, and there was one person that got out of their car, and that somebody almost caused an accident. And I was like, oh, okay, well, didn't mean to cause accidents, but most of the interactions are positive. Sometimes there's like confusion. I wouldn't say any full negativity, but I did get into a debate with a friend of mine who's from Austria when I was taking pictures of them in Germany leading up to wanting to start the project in Germany. And she feels like the project is just like guilting Germany in a way, and we kind of got into a debate about it. And I was like, I don't think it's about guilt. I don't think it has to be this guilt association. I think it's awareness and remembrance, and so that was something that was interesting, that she kind of felt like it wasn't something that she wanted to have to think about every day, like walking around. So we got into deeper discussions about public space and memory and all of these other things. Adan.
How much interaction or connection have you had with, I think the name Gunter Demnig? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How much interaction have you had, if any?
So I've never spoken with him personally. Whoever runs his Instagram has liked some of the previous posts and previous iterations of the show. But I think maybe it's time to just send an email. Like, yeah, so, yes.
Can you talk about how Ryan framed the washcloths and how they're photographic?
Yeah, so I really wanted this idea around the dirty washcloths framed in particular squares that also then in a way mirror the square shapes of the Stolpersteine, framed next to the videos of them, because in a way they act as a photograph of the act in itself, a photograph, or even kind of like mirror image prints of the Stolpersteine in general, and that those would be also the physical remembrance of the cleaning act and the ritual in itself. Liz.
Where are you watching next? To go next with this project?
So the project is always ongoing. I actually have a bunch of washcloths from Stolpersteine that I cleaned in Venice and in other places that haven't been framed yet, that we've talked about trying to apply for funding for. And so we're hoping to continue to have the show grow, and the work continues, so we'll see more to clean, always. Yeah.
And if, let's say, a curator institute wants to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Sure. So reaching me via email, which is my name, Leah, Leah, and then the initial C, and my last name, Michaels, @gmail.com.